temporal part, which is seasonal planning part, right? See, in terms of the models that we have applied, right? We have used a lot of econometric techniques, plus we have used a lot of machine learning models, right? And some of these models you will study in your courses, and then you can apply and you can experiment with different models and then figure out which is working best for you. So here we have applied, in fact, more some more models we've applied also apart from what is written here, but linear regression, decision tree, support vector regressions, random forest models. See, the idea is that I'll give you a very core thought process behind this application of these models. See, there are thousands of outlets which are existing today, and all of them are selling something, right? Some kiloliter per month sale is happening for each of these outlets. Now we have to find out why they are selling whatever they are selling. So if something is selling low, something is selling high, something is selling 100, somebody is selling 200. Can I find out why are they selling that number, right? And then you create hypothesis. Your hypothesis will be that, okay, fine, traffic determines sales. Higher the traffic, more the sales. You will say population determines sales. More the population, more the sales. You will say points of interest determine sales. So more the schools, more the banks, more the ATMs, more the sales. These are your hypotheses. You do not know whether these are true or not. And then you start experimenting with the data. You kind of, out of large amount of data, you have schools, banks, ATM, whatnot. You will say, okay, ATMs don't impact, banks don't impact, maybe schools do, maybe restaurants do, shopping malls do, movie theaters do, right? So you will, basis hypothesis, you will find out a smaller set of what are the drivers to your ultimate sales. And then for the sites where you already have this data available, where you have sales available, where you have data of drivers available, you then start building these models and then try to see how best can you predict the sales of these existing outlets given the dynamics of that area, right? And once you perfect that model, then you take that model to a new location where there is nothing existing today. But you know what is the traffic there. You have data of the drivers, you know the population there, you know the micro markets, schools, banks, ATM, restaurants, all of that. You know for that new location, does that there's no outlet. But you can feed all of this input data into the model that you have previously built, right? And let the model tell you what is the projected sales of that location if an outlet were to put up in that area. That's the core philosophy across many such techniques. You learn from what's existing. You learn to find out what are the drivers. The two-level question. A, what are the drivers? And B, what is the impact of those drivers on the final outcome, which is sales in this case, right? That's exactly what we've done here. We started with a large list of drivers. We had 200 plus data points. So schools, banks, ATMs, restaurants, different types of retail outlets, small, large, tea stalls, etc., etc. We had 200 plus data points. We brought them down to a set of 10, 12 data points, which were relevant from a statistic perspective. And then we started building machine learning models for existing outlets, which is using existing sales and existing micro market information. We perfected that model, different models for different types of areas. For example, different model for a city, different model for a highway, different model for a village, right? Once I have those models, then I go to a new area, get all of this information, put this into the machine learning model. I get the sales out, and that becomes my projection, right? And we're getting decent accuracy as well in this whole process. Right? So that was the nutshell of how this whole data thing works, right? Let me see how much time is available. Okay. I'll just go through the steps that we already have discussed. Yeah, you define the criteria for retail site selection. Right? We talked about this thing, that how do you define trading area, whether it's 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer or 5 kilometer, whether it's same for schools and banks and shopping malls or different. This all is done using data and statistics. Right? And then you do the potential assessment. Right? This also we discussed that you will train the model, you will build the model on existing outlets, existing sales, using different techniques, which is all your neural networks, random forest, etc., etc. When you come to a real life problem, you will have a little bit more complication. For example, cannibalization. Are you cannibalizing from your own outlets? If you create an outlet over here, how much of the existing sales will get impacted? How much of the sales of competition you will pull in? What is the impact of size? So you'll have some very large format outlets. So does size impact sales and how much, right? Double size, double sales, or sometimes you know what? If you have a very large outlet, the sales are much more than the factor of the size. So if your outlet is 3 times large, your sales might be even more than 3 times, because now it becomes a different ecosystem altogether. A very large outlet will have lot of facilities, lot of amenities, right? You might have a McD over there, maybe, right? Maybe a large rest area. So a lot more people will come in, and your sales will just increase exponentially. So all of these things need to be taken care of. What's the impact of price differential across geographies? So if you're, let's say, on a border state, like say, let's say Haryana and Rajasthan, and there's a 9 rupee petrol price difference, then what is the behavior of the guys who are living around the border? Right? Will they just go to the other location, get their tank full, come back, etc., etc. All of that happens, and we know that. Right? So in a business scenario, it's not just a mathematical problem. You have to understand the business drivers behind it, try to bring them into your model then, and then solve the problem. Right? And then finally, you figure out, once you have individual forecasts, then you do a network level optimization. And then at a store level, that what should you have at the store? Should it be a store which has a what we call as canopy, covered outlet, or an open outlet? You have seen both type of outlets. Should it have free water, free air? Some amenities are must have, but then some are not. Should you have a cafe coffee day over there, or some other kind of food outlet, some general store, etc.? All of that can be modeled for at a store level. So I think this is pretty much a summary of, the slide is not changing here. Summary of what all we did in the project. So key takeaways, I'll just quickly summarize. Before you start understanding the existing business, understanding the drivers of the business, their problem points, customer, their level of maturity, all that becomes very important. B, understanding what data can solve your problem. Right? Oftentimes, nobody will come you and tell you that, these are the 10 data points that will help you. You will have to figure out yourself, and maybe take help from some business subject matter expert to find out what data points are important. Step number 2. Third, you actually get that data point, which also sometimes also in a problem in itself, right? But once you get it, you will realize that you have a lot of data, and you don't know if all of that data is really useful or not. Then you play with the data to figure out just the more relevant parts of the data sets, right? And maybe you mix and match data points to create new data points as well, or the feature engineering part of machine learning. Then you build machine learning models, you perfect them, you iterate over them, and then you are ready with the model which can be applied for a new context, a new scenario, new location in this case. Right. With that, I will pause here and open the forum for questions. Anything that I can help you understand better. I know this was a little bit a quick summary because it's a large project with a lot of moving parts and a lot of data and modeling happened. I've tried to give you a glimpse of what we did, but now I can take your questions.
Thanks, Nitin. That was really awesome. I should say, we were initially thinking, when they put up a store, maybe they were just analyzing some few details, and then they were trying to put up a store or a petrol pump or a fuel station. Never we have imagined that so much of data goes inside before even finalizing a location, right?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to bring. So there are a lot of industries which still run in a very rudimentary way. Data science can fundamentally alter many things that happen, and it's already doing. I mean, it's not a question that if it will happen or not. The only question is when will it happen?
Exactly.
Right. And then the question is what side are you on? Are you on the side which made this change, or are you on the side which got impacted because of this change?
Right.
We want to be on the side of people who are making this change.
Yeah. And as you have rightly mentioned about the topic of this session, it's about the art and science of understanding the data analytics involved here. It's not just about the formulas that you use here. It's also about, as you mentioned, what are the pointers that you actually need to be worried about? It's not that all the 100 pointers that you take up can make a difference. So you need to obviously have that art of understanding that as well.
Absolutely.
Very well covered, actually.
Yeah.
So Gulsar has asked for this summary slide. Maybe he want to refer on to that. If you can put up the summary slide, the last but one slide.
Yeah, one second.
Yeah. Right. Attendees, please post your question either through the Q&A or through the chat box here. Okay. So there's a question here from Shivanandan. So I have approx 1.5 years of experience, and I have worked in infra in persistent system. So that's the company that he's working in currently. So what is the impact in my career when I complete this program? Okay. Right. So I'll initially cover it up, and maybe I'll ask Nitin to take it over here. So Shivanandan, as Nitin was mentioning, it is important whether you want to be the change or you want to be on the side which creates the change, or you are going to be there in the side when the change affects you, right? So obviously every industry, as Mr. Nitin was mentioning, is going to be affected because of this data science and the data analytics industry, right? So more from you, Nitin.
Yeah. So infra is a sector which has lots and lots of use cases, implementation of machine learning, because this was a very traditional sector. So far, unlike say finance and fintech and consumer, which already have a lot of people who are, so to say, experts in those areas, on the infra side, you will not find too many experts, right? Because this sector was very conservative sector so far. But now it is also getting impacted. You pick any infra sector, for example, uh, power utilities, distribution companies which supply power to us or supply water to us. You look at highway sector, right? Uh, Many implications of AI ML are coming in, right? In the power sector, I have done demand forecasting of for power utilities. So a day in advance, we can tell them what will be the power consumption at different points of time in the day. So 12 between 12 and 1, what's the demand between 1 and 2, what's the megawatt demand of power, right? We do this forecast basis. What is the weather tomorrow? It's going to be rainy or sunny or windy. And if it's rainy, then it's raining on a weekday or a weekend, right? And we say if it's rainy and a weekend, but it's morning or in afternoon, so everything impacts, right? The impact of rain is not the same across all the days of the year. It just depends upon a lot of other factors, right? So understanding this from historical data and then creating something which can be useful by the utility in this case will unlock a lot of value. And if you are able to unlock this value for you, you capture a part of it, right? That goes to you as in terms of your career growth, so to say. Right? So essentially, I would say there are two things. One is ability to understand what uses can be there, which you may know at this stage or you may not, because you are just starting your career. 1.5 years is very, very, fresh mindset. But then your ability to solve these problems become important, right? And that's where these techniques come into picture. If you know machine learning techniques, time series forecasting techniques, then you can take these problems when given to you and then you can solve for it, right? So infra sector, I'm of all the sectors, I would say infra is one of the great sectors to be in, because not everybody understands infra as well, right? It's easy to understand a consumer industry because we are all consumers, right? But infra is a little bit more difficult. So a lot of future applications there, yes. Altaf is asking, I have studied Bachelor of Vocation Study in Production Technology and I'm thinking to start up for production unit in my area, but can I take any decision? Yeah, this is a this is a very, I would say, uh, question where I can only give you the drivers. I cannot help you decide this, right? Because a job versus startup decision, I think most of us and many of us at some point of time in our career go through this, that whether we continue with our jobs or get into a startup or create our own startup, right? They are very, very different. Um, Not from the perspective of the work that you do, but with the mindset which you do the work, right? So a startup is, um, I mean, you would know all of this. I'll be preaching to the choir here, but A startup mindset is very different. You have to be ability to take risks. You have to be to some extent irrational because you are driven by some very high level motivation, right? That outcome will not be that obvious because had it been such an obvious use case, then everybody would have been there, right? You're believing in something that not everybody else is believing in, right? Which has its own and rewards, right? Because if you're successful, then you will make more than average. If you're not, then you will have to figure out something else next in life, right? In this particular case, I wouldn't know how to evaluate your production unit versus a job. But um, in the context of this session here, if I just get back to the topic of discussion, which is data sciences and machine learning, I would say that even if you do a startup of your own or you do a job, you are here because I think you have some affinity towards data sciences. What I can say is that even in a startup, knowing what data sciences is and what kind of problems it can solve for you, right, will help you in your startup also. Either it can directly help you in the startup by creating new value streams for your business, new business models for you, solving some operations problem for you, or maybe it can solve for you later when you grow into certain size, when you become a little larger, and then you have operations problem to solve for it. All right, cool.
Thanks, Nitin. That was quite explanatory. Good. So,
Somebody asked what is GIS? GIS is Geospatial Information Systems. Geospatial means uh, geospatial, geography and space. So using satellites, when you map the entire territory, right? Like a Google map, when you know where is what, which latitude, longitude, you map the entire geography. That is just data, and then you use techniques to convert this data into information. So, for example, if I give you a location at latitude, longitude, and ask you that in a 20 minutes driving distance, give me all schools in that area, then you need to process this information, right? So GI systems do this kind of processing. They create data which then go to the machine learning models. All right.
okay, all right.
One more thing I want to add to the previous question from Altaf. See, data science course, you have to look at it in two ways. One is the immediate benefit that you get, which is your bouquet of tools and techniques. It also a longer term benefit because it's also a mindset or a thought process change. When you do a AI ML program, data sciences program, right? Unlike a very programming kind of a thing, it forces you to understand business and business drivers and why things are working, why things are not working, right? So you get closer to a business view of things also, and then you also figure out how to solve those problems, right? So it's a very good skill to carry, even if you're not solving it yourself, but it helps you understand a lot of things and put them in perspective.
So it's not just about the technology, it's also about understanding the business and then how you're going to use your technology to that particular business and connect with that.
Absolutely. And many of your careers will be like for the next 25, 30, 35 years, right? If you start building this thought process now, and it's not an overnight thought process, I can tell you that, right?
Yes.
It will not happen just over a few months or even a year. It's a longer term journey, but you started now. Then you start building that thought process. And then in 5 years, in 7, 10 years, you'll be better than others in terms of asking the right questions,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's your company, your startup, or somebody else's company, and where you are an employee or a consultant, right? But the journey should start as early as you can.
And that's when you also become an expert in that industry. It's not just about the technology, it's also about that particular domain you're going to
Right.
specialize in.
Absolutely. All right. So I don't see any more questions. If they are, please you can ask. Otherwise, we are anyways over the time now.
Yeah. So that was wonderful, Nathan, and thank you for joining us today. And we hope we'll meet once again with one other set of candidates with a different experience that you can share with us.
Sure, sure. No, it was a pleasure, and I was myself into a different industry before I moved into data science. I was in technology, Did my engineering in chemical engineering from NIT Trichy, 2002. Then I was working with Infosys for a good seven years period. Then after that, I moved from technology to I did my MBA from ISB Hyderabad, and then after that, I moved from technology to data sciences. And a lot of progress that I have seen, not just from a career perspective, but also from a thinking perspective, has happened after the switch into data sciences. Because this area is booming very fast, so there's a lot of career opportunities. Definitely, yes. But also, what I talked just now about the thought process, the mindset, asking the right questions and looking at things in the right way. It has helped me, and happy if any of you get benefited from my experience. Um, and it'll be great to see you guys grow and prosper and flourish in your careers as well. Thank you.
I'm sure they are going to make this day a memorable day, because you have put in a small seed into their mind about data science and how they can shape up their career into that. Thank you very much, Nitin. Thank you for your time amidst your busy schedule.
All
Wish
right.
to see you
Thank you,
once
Desh.
again in one of
Thank you so much. Thank you, and good luck, everyone. Thanks. Bye bye.
Yeah. Participants can stay for the next 2 minutes time. So I can tell you how Imarticus can help you out in shaping up your career into this data analytics industry. So for the benefit of the participants who want to make your career into the data analytics industry, we have a specific tailor-made program. One is a weekday program and second is a weekend program. So if you are working professional and you still want to take up data analytics industry or come into the data analytics industry, so you have the weekend program here. You can choose this online or classroom mode of learning. And please understand, at Imarticus, we are very clear about one simple thing, that whatever you're going to learn here is live sessions. So it's not pre-recorded sessions. The faculty will be in front of you, whether it is an online or classroom session. The way Mr. Nitin was here today, you will have experts coming in on a daily basis and teaching you the nuances of data analytics, the data science, and ML and AI industry. So if you're a fresh graduate looking out for a job, a career into the data science industry, so you have a weekday program where you can cut short the training in 6 months. So this program will be running Monday till Friday, 4 hours per day. And this will be a 6 months of training program here. The best part out here is both these programs are placement assured programs. Okay, so once you join this program, your placement is assured into this data analytics industry, right? So to know more about these programs, you can always log into our website. And of course, we also have some special promotions for the candidates who are logged in today. So you can always get some special discount. So we have your names who are logged in today, and our counselors will reach out to you and tell you about those details as well. And in case you want to know more about Imarticus, you can always log into our website, and you can also see how much we have progressed in this space, like how many trainers even the learners we have trained, how many people we have placed, what are our corporate tie-ups, and all those things from our website, right? So wishing you all a great career into this data analytics industry. Thank you all for joining in today. Have a great day. Thank you.